David here with Durable Dad, bringing you a quick video on the kettlebell swing. Very similar to the deadlift, in my opinion. It is one of those movements that's just overcoached, overcued, overthought, overanalyzed, I guess, all too often. I am going into this assuming that you know how to deadlift. So I'm not going to teach you that. I did a video on simplifying the deadlift. Go check that out. If you do not feel comfortable or feel competent in the deadlift, or the deadlift hurts you, the kettlebell swing is not something I would tell you to do. It's not something I would recommend. You need to be comfortable with the deadlift before you go swinging the kettlebell around. When you look at the motion of a kettlebell swing, it is literally an explosive deadlift. For that reason, master the deadlift first. Doesn't mean you have to be obnoxiously strong, just be comfortable with that motion. And for this video, I'm just going to be demonstrating the two-handed Russian style kettlebell swing. So that's the one that's going to be elevating to the shoulder level, and that's about it. Not going overhead. Because if you can get the Russian style swing, if you really wanted to do the American, it's the same rules. It's just the arc is a little bit bigger. You can do the American style swing. You can play around eventually with single hand swings, which are definitely a step in the more challenging direction. So to get started with the kettlebell swing, let's go over a few things. The first one is that it's not an arm exercise. So if you find that fatigue in your arms and shoulders is the limiting factor, you're not doing them correctly. So it is not a front raise. You will be using your hips to launch that kettlebell forward. That's the second thing. You're not really thinking about trying to launch the kettlebell up as much as you are trying to think about launching it forward. Third thing, as with any lift, start off lighter than you think you can do, because the kettlebell swing will humble you instantly if you get a little overzealous with the weight. So let's just go over the motion first. And this is actually how I would say you should start practicing the kettlebell swing. So real quick, deadlift motion. You'd have a bar right here, right? You'd sit your butt back and the bar goes down. You'd push your butt forward, the bar comes up. Notice the bar goes up and down in a straight line, right? That's a deadlift. A kettlebell swing, there's an arc occurring now with the weight, not a straight up and down line. So the way I would practice this, just getting the motion down, start with your hands out in front of you, elbows straight, slowly pull your hands down, keeping those elbows straight until they basically kind of run out of room. That's when you'd break at your hips, bring those hands back, load up the back of your legs, shoot your hips forward. When the hips are fully extended, that's when your arms come back up. This is where the kettlebell would be floating, back down, load the hips, shoot them back forward, float the arms. So practice that motion with no weight until it doesn't feel foreign anymore. You have to learn how to hike the kettlebell. That hike is literally like that first initial get it off the ground and get it straight into its swing. So with your hike, I'm going to show you with just my hands at first. You're down here, this is where your kettlebell's starting. You get your hips kind of in your deadlift position, because your hike is going to be to pull the kettlebell back between the legs to get into that hip loaded position. Launch your hips forward, going right into your first swing. It comes back down. To park it, reversing that motion. You load up the hips, but instead of launching back forward, you just let it swing back forward to that stop point. Again, practice this with no weight. Here again, I'm going to show it to you a few times. Hike, get into that hip loaded position, launch the hips forward, right into your first swing. To park it, it comes down, sit those hips back, and then let it forward, rest to the ground. Load the hips, hike it back, load up the hips, shoot them forward, float it, parking it, load up the hips, let it come forward, park it to the floor. So what does that look like with weight? Let's find out. I'm going to sit my hips back like I'm doing a deadlift. I'm going to load up my hips, grab onto my kettlebell. I'm going to hike it, go into one swing, and then I'm going to park it. Hike, swing, park. This is why you got to practice it with no weight, super slow. Because once that weight's in your hand, it moves fast. Hike, hip, park. Hike, park. Hike, that hike, swing, park drill is actually a really fantastic way to start to practice the kettlebell swing, because you want to be able to be confident in your ability to get it started and to park it when you're done before you really start trying to add in volume of swings. So you've been practicing your hike and your park. So now let's add some back-to-back swings in there. Hike, swing, 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 park. Hike, swing, 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 park. Hike, swing, 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 park. So a warning for you though, because this bell's moving fast and it's moving in an arc, it's fighting you. That's the best way I can describe it. It is fighting to pull you off your feet. So part of the skill is learning how to win this fight with the kettlebell. You have to learn to tame the arc. Don't let it throw you around. That's why you start off light than you think you should. Okay, so just a couple quick things that I commonly see that I want you to look out for. The first one is a squatty swing. You're going through your swing, but as you come down, you get really low here. This is a squatty swing. This is not how a swing should look unless you want your back to hurt. The swing, butt back, loading the butt in the back of the legs, shoot it forward. The second one is being lazy at the top of the swing. The top of the swing, treat it like a plank, like the hardest plank you've ever done in your life. Don't let yourself get lazy through your midsection at all. So when you're at the top of your swing, finish that sucker strong. Your butt and your quads are just locked out. You're here. It's not letting you do this. It's not letting you do this. Okay. It is a plank position. Come back down. Boom, plank position. Here's a quick look at just a kettlebell swing across a few different weights. So I have a 35, a 53, a 70, an 88, and a 106 pound. Kettlebell, I'm just going to do 3 to 5 swings on each one. The rules and how you approach it, identical every single time. Obviously, the weight's going to be different, so it might look just a little bit different. Hike, swing, and park. Park. 53. 70. And 88 pounds. And to wrap it up, a 106. The key is to simply apply the exact same rules, and the way you execute it, the way you've been practicing every single time you go into a kettlebell swing. I hope this was helpful for you, sharing some of my experience around how I've learned how to do the kettlebell swing over the last several years. Let me know if you have any questions or some feedback in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.